Hello, everybody. Coach Stacie here with Coach Allie. This is week 4, the final week of gym life balance. And hopefully you're starting to feel that. Hopefully, things are kind of starting to calm down. A lot of times kids freak out a lot the first couple of weeks of school. And there's just, I even just tell people, starting a new job, starting a new position, any big life change that you make, it takes a while to get used to. It takes a while where it's all in our habit brain. We kind of have it all under control. And so hopefully you're starting to feel that. And so this week we want to focus in on the final piece, which is health. So we did kind of an overall of time management, having fun, homework, and this week is health. So we're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about fueling with food. And these are the two things that usually get pushed out for everything else. So we find that a lot of our gymnasts that struggle with energy are doing so because they're pushing out either getting enough sleep, getting enough food, or both. So Allie, you want to start out by talking about fueling.
Yeah. Stacie's right, especially once they go to school, they start struggling with eating and eating enough typically. And a lot of it has to do with planning ahead of time. And I just want you to think about you. Have you ever tried to do meal prepping and decide what you're going to eat ahead of time and plan ahead for the next day and make sure that you have you're going to be gone the whole day. So you want to make sure that you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks planned out and all the things. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And most of the time, us as adults have a hard time following through with that. And it takes a long time to get into the habit. And think about all the things we had to trial and error to get there, or books we read, or things we did in order to figure that out, if we ever did. I'm still struggling with it, and I'm 30 still trying to do it. And I have a background in all this stuff, right? So it's crazy. But the point is now we are asking a gymnast who we've already explained to you over the last few weeks that has an actually tough schedule, busy schedule, grueling schedule, to pre-plan, meal prep, and do all this stuff in order to be healthy and fueled. Now, not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying it's a lot of work. And if they're not thinking ahead of time about it, it's not going to happen. And honestly, without some sort of guidance, it's not going to happen. If they have parents that don't do that, or if that's never been role modeled to them, they're not going to know how. There's just lots of things like that. Once again, we're not here to be like, you need to pack their meals for them, but just helping them with the understanding of okay, I know that I'm going to be going from school to gym to whatever. I know that I need to be able to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks and whatever it might be. What can I eat that's going to help me get there? And helping them plan what they're going to have ahead of time is going to help them actually eat, and planning the time for it. I mean, legitimately, in our program, when we block chunks of time out, we block chunks even 15 minutes for our to eat quick between practice and school or whatever it is. So planning the time to actually eat the food and planning the time to make sure that you're prepared for the next day and what you're going to do. And my last part is facilitating that conversation with parents. And let me say, if you need help on specific food and nutrition, this is when you go to one of those gymnastics nutrition specialists, the gymnast RD, the gymnast nutritionist. There's tons of them out there now. Go to them for specific advice on what to eat, but having the conversations of okay, we need to plan ahead and help them so that they have the food that they need, can be something that you can help facilitate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've seen this a lot in that, I have gymnasts that I've worked with for a long time on mental blocks and struggling, and they'll just tell me again and again, I'm just so tired on vault. I just feel heavy on vault or lethargic. I don't have energy. And so we send them on to, gymnastics nutritionist, gymnast RD, and to one of their programs. And the difference is pretty amazing. And so, seeing that, even just following, they both do a fantastic job. And there are others that do great on their Instagram of just giving you lots of free information. And so following along so that you just have a better idea, because one of the biggest surprises is like, you think about a gymnast being like eating healthy, but what our like general population thinks of as eating healthy and what a gymnast actually needs to eat to have enough energy and nutrition to get through her workouts and recover from them well, build muscle, all of that is very different. And so, most parents, even you as coaches, probably don't have a lot of training or background in what they actually need to be eating. So you might see them, grab a quick little granola bar here. That's all they've eaten the entire day and not think a lot of it. I've had lots of times in my life where that was true in my life too. I didn't pack lunch for work and I'd be like, but like, I'm not working out 4+ hours a day. Mm-hmm. And so just even having it on your radar as what's normal and what's healthy might need to shift for you based on like what they actually need, so that you just are not that you become their nutritionist. That's for sure not the role. That even we don't play that when we have our kids and they're telling us they're struggling with energy, we don't play the role of nutritionist. We send them to that. But I've at least changed my idea of what's normal, and what's like what they probably need just by following along with those different gymnast nutritionists. And here's what I tell them. And I want to be clear, we're not talking here about disordered eating. So disordered eating would be, when there's either an actual eating disorder or just an unhealthy relationship with food that's causing them to not want to eat because they don't want to get fat or that's not even what we're talking about here. We're just talking about just in general, having enough time and energy. And what we find is that the biggest culprit is they just don't feel like they have enough time to prep, to plan, to get all their food in. So it's just something to help them understand that it is going to be something they need to do. And this is one of the ways that I try to help them.
And it's so easy to get busy and forget. Like I just want to throw that out there because I literally was doing this. I was starting to get a headache while we were like working and prepping to do this podcast. And I was like, Stacie, I literally need to go eat. Like I just need to eat quick. And I need to because we're so deep into the day. I've already lifted and I haven't hardly eaten and I'm getting a headache. And like, that's what happens. They're just at school. They're getting busy. They're doing stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, it's time for practice. Like, what do I do? I need food.
A lot of the fast solutions aren't necessarily what they view as like healthy that they want to eat. Mm-hmm. So things they can buy at school, things they can get from the vending machine, things they can get at the drive-thru on the way to practice isn't always what they want to eat. So they just feel like it's better to choose not to eat than to eat those things. And then that gets them in trouble.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I like to tell them is, like most of them, their commitment towards their goals in gymnastics of getting a college scholarship, going, making an Olympic team, like those kinds of things are huge. And so being able to tell them you are sacrificing so much in your life to go for those goals. But you're doing that and then showing up at practice and not having the energy to actually do what you need to do to be training for those goals. So how does that make sense? Like you're already sacrificing so much to give up to be there, but then when you're there, you're not able to actually do the training that you need and get what you need out of it. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be sacrificing that, then let's figure this out so that you can make the time that you're there worth it. And for a lot of the gymnasts I've coached, that part has made sense.
Definitely. Then our other part is sleep. Sleep, let me tell you, being a teenager was great, right? You stay up so late and you'd get up early for school and you function. I don't function at all like that anymore. Pull an all-nighter with some friends, right? But as a high-level athlete, And as a gymnast, that is just not maintainable. And it is one of those things that gives. Well, I went to school and then had to drive an hour to practice, and then practiced for 4 hours and had to drive an hour home. And then I ate another meal, and then it's 9 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. sometimes. And I still had homework to get done. And so then I did my homework because that's more important. And then I didn't go to sleep until, I mean, you guys, I hear like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. stuff all the time. I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't do that. Okay. Especially when I had a boyfriend and I wanted to talk to him, and then that was late. It was a whole thing. Right. And so they just don't understand. You can tell them 800 times that sleep is important, and they just don't understand how important until you make it a priority and important too. And so I think that that's another place where we can, as coaches and as mentors of these kids, just helping them understand how important sleep is. Like, so many processes actually happen in your body while you're asleep. You are building memory. I always tell them the story about how when I was an undergrad, I used to just stay up so late, and I would study and study and study for hours, and I'd get to the test and I would do fine. I mean, like, I wasn't by any means failing, but like, it was exhausting. And then I couldn't do anything the next day. And then I'd have to, like, it was just so horrible. And then I was in grad school. So it took till grad school for me to like process how important sleeping was, because I was in a motor learning class, and it was teaching me about how like your brain actually memorizes while you're sleeping, and the process that happens, and like all the nerdy stuff that goes on. And I finally, for one test, I remember I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to study until I know what time I have to wake up in the morning. And I know it takes 7 hours for this memory process thing to go through. So I'm going to study until I know that I have to go to bed so I get my full 7 hours of sleep, no matter what. Literally the best test I've ever done. I am not kidding. I was like, are you joking? I could have been studying less and sleeping in order to make up for it, feeling better and doing better on my test this whole time. And I tell this story to like a lot of high schoolers, and they're like shocked. And I'm like, I know, that's how I felt. And I'm saying, like, you have to put in the work still. You obviously have to pay attention in class, and you have to like, you have memories, still things that, learning and building. But if you do those things and then you study a normal amount of time, normal in quotes, because normal for everybody's different, but a reasonable amount of time, how about, and then get the full sleep that is required in order for your brain to do all of the things it's supposed to do at night, it is amazing. Amazing what it can do for you. And so just helping them understand and like challenging them to try things like that. What if you just studied for 1 hour and then went to bed, took your exam, see what happens? And doing those types of things could help them start to have the same realization, hopefully before grad school. I was done with gymnastics by then. I was so mad. The worst part is, I'm sure that in all my anatomy classes and all my other classes, I learned the same stuff. And I just, didn't take it. I just didn't take it seriously.
Right.
Until that point. And it took me like wanting to learn about it and hearing about it and like hearing like stories from other people to actually try it. And so like, I think that's where we can really dive into that. Like, sleep is important, and it can be more important than doing your homework 5 times. If you listen to last podcast, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I had one girl who was really struggling with this, and I just encouraged her for a couple of nights, like, you don't do your homework. I'm just not going to just don't do it. And what happened was, once she got enough sleep, because she was in this perpetual cycle, she wasn't getting enough sleep. So she was too tired to be able to do her homework well. So then she couldn't figure the homework out. So then And so I just was like, I don't want, like, don't do your homework for 3 days. And she got like I mean, not caught up, but she got enough sleep that her brain started functioning. And then she was able to get her homework done in a very short amount of time. And we got her onto a good path. But it took a few nights of like, no, homework is not getting done until she could kind of get back up with it. But the same is, so they say that, 6-year-old to 13 need 9 to 11 hours of sleep. And then 14 to 18-year-olds need 8 to 10. 8 to 10. Most of them that we know get 6. And this is for average. This isn't for an elite level athlete or a high level athlete. This is for a kid who just probably does nothing after school, or maybe, 1 hour of after school sports, not 4 hours of workout. And so, but one of the things that I also like to tell them is muscles. So, your body rebuilds, or it builds your muscle mass. It builds. So when you're doing, like, I always tell them, what do you need to do to get stronger? And they're like, well, I got to do my conditioning. And I'm like, well, what does the conditioning do? And they're like, I don't know. It grows the muscles. I'm like, no, the conditioning doesn't grow the muscles. Allie, you can speak to this much better than I can, but the conditioning breaks down the muscles. The muscle actually regrows while you sleep. And if you don't have enough sleep, your body's first going to prioritize the brain functions. Then it will prioritize the physical functions. And so if you don't get that, recommended hours of sleep, you're tearing your muscles down every single day doing conditioning and never growing them. So if they don't ever have, isn't it a waste to spend 30 minutes doing strength training and then never do the thing, never get enough sleep that then they can actually grow back? That's going to, be even worse. And so that's usually pretty motivating to them too.
Well, same with nutrition too.
Yeah.
Like being able to, like, your body, like, legitimately, your muscles don't have the nutrients that it needs to work. And so you're going to be slower. You're going to be like less powerful. You're going to run out by the end of your floor routine way faster. Like, it's the same idea. Like, you're doing all this training for what if you don't allow yourself to sleep or eat?
Yeah. So one of the things that can be fun is, like we've said for the other weeks, is doing some kind of group thing with this, like a jar, or, a thing where everybody decides ahead of time how many hours of sleep they're going to get each night. And then they, put in a thing for each night that they get that many hours. And then you do something fun at the end, depending on how many gems they all get, or, something like that. You can be creative in coming up with it. But what I have found is that in this week, with the gymnasts that I'm working on, when I really work with them, that, like, no matter what else happens this week, we're going to get enough sleep and we're going to get enough to eat. Their performance goes up so much in the gym and at school that then they're motivated to make the changes. Now, that I usually kind of have to revisit it after Christmas break, but this usually, when they will feel so different having a full week of full nights of sleep, fueled food, that it's like, okay, this is worth it. I can tell the difference. They'll get a bunch of skills this week. They'll have a lot less mental blocks. They'll enjoy practice a lot more, all of that kind of thing. So especially if you find your gymnast telling you that they are, like, especially like vault and tumbling. I also get it a lot on bars and on beam. Like, if I'm too tired, I can't do my skills, or I just don't have enough energy to, like, do my skills well. If you're hearing them say that a lot, this might be a time to really address it with them specifically and help them. But even helping your whole team make a goal this week of getting enough sleep all week long and see how they feel, getting their snacks in, making a snack break during workout. Like, most gymnasts, they need a nutritional break halfway through workout if it's going to be a 3 to 4 hour workout. Is that the right amount, Allie?
I don't remember the exact.
I feel like from following
Yes,
her, from
I
following,
believe
it's like
that's what it is.
they need one. And so we had one gymnast who was really struggling on vault, and we just started a thing like, but she just was like, I'm just not hungry. So she would drink apple juice before vault every single day. And it remarkably helped her vault. So like, but putting in that snack break so that they don't feel like they have to sneak away to go eat, or that they're going to be in trouble because they're like not on the rotation they're supposed to be, but like actually working that into their rotations can be enormously helpful. And just you as the coach encouraging that.
We did a fun thing. I mean, this was more of a summer practice type thing where it was much easier. But on Friday summer practices, a lot of times us coaches would bring in snacks for everybody for snack break, which was kind of fun. I had a fruit salsa that I would make, and I made like homemade chips and stuff too. So everyone would be like, fruit salsa day. It became like a thing. I think in the end, everybody started taking turns making fruit salsa on Fridays. But either way, but we did do that for a while where it was just like a fun thing, like, oh, like on Friday, like the coach is going to bring a snack, and it helps you even bring good ideas and encourage and promote and all the things.
Yeah.
So lead by example.
Yeah. And that is another big one that I would say is that, you know, our example is a lot. And I know even for us as adults, getting enough sleep, getting, you know, enough food where we're not starving at practice and things like that is hard for us too. And so, you know, when they hear from you all the time that you didn't get enough sleep and you're here, or that, you know, oh gosh, I'm starving, I haven't eaten anything all day. I swear, when I was a coach in college, I didn't eat. And so but we had like at the front desk, they sold like snacks.
Like a concession?
Concession, thank you.
Yeah.
Like a convenience bar, that wasn't it. But mostly it was like mostly candy bars and stuff like that. And so the healthiest thing that I could find was a Snickers bar, because, you know, it had peanuts in it. And so I like starved all day. I was at workout from 3:00 till 8:30, and I would eat a Snickers bar at the beginning of practice every day. And I swear, I know, I mean, how many times did I tell those kids, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten all day? Snickers bar, Snickers bar, Snickers bar. I mean, at the time, you know, as a young coach myself, I wasn't thinking about that. And so no shame, no foul for any of us there. But if we can also be thinking about our own, what we're modeling to them about our own eating and our own sleeping, not so much about what it is, but just about the fact that we're being mindful of it and we're valuing it. So, any final thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think the main point is just it's easy to forget. It's so easy to forget about these things for you as coaches, for business owners, for athletes, because it doesn't always feel like the priority. But when you make it a priority, everything else gets better.
Yeah. All right. Next month, we are moving on into getting your skills ready for season, basically getting routine ready. So this is going to be, you know, the time of like figuring out season goals again, how you get those last skills that you need for the season, all of those kinds of things. So it's going to be a fun month. But to start it off, we know a lot of kids out there are still struggling with fear or with frustration or feeling like they've failed. And so we have a special coaches clinic just for you coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, the 27th. So just would love to see you there. Follow the link in the show notes for that. And we also have a training for gymnasts coming up October 7th and 8th. And then for the parents, October 12th. So all of this is going to be our signature program, How to Overcome Fear. We use these emotions everywhere in the gym. We teach them about dealing with fear and frustration, because those are like the most common ones that gymnasts are dealing with this time. But it is going to help them for the entire season. And so we really would love to see you there. Would love to see your gymnasts there. Would love to see your parents there. And we will see you next week if we don't see you there. Bye.
Bye.